Hey Amanda, how are you?
I'm good, Charlene. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm excited to get together again, especially after the recent news of the Bank of Canada.
Yeah.
Just as a brief introduction to anyone watching, I am a realtor. I've been a realtor for 14 years, currently with Real Estate Homeward. And I have the lovely Amanda with me, and Amanda is a mortgage agent.
Mhm.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, please, Amanda.
Yeah, my name's Amanda Pivar. I've been a mortgage agent for 8 years, but in the industry for 11. I'm currently with Vine Group Mortgages, and we are a not provincial, sorry. We are brokerage across Canada, meaning we have offices all across Canada and able to work in multiple provinces.
That's great to know. Amanda, we're just going to jump right in. Bank
Perfect.
of Canada announcement today.
Mm.
They announced that there is no change in the rate. What does that mean to the average wannabe purchaser of a home?
Yeah. So anyone who currently owns a home, I'll start with that. It is great because your variable interest rate, if you're in a variable, is not going to move. We have seen 8 consecutive increases over the last year. And for the first time in a year, we did not see any movement. Bank of Canada has decided to keep rates steady to really monitor inflation because they have started seeing inflation go down and are expecting by mid-year it to be back down to about 3%. This is great for anyone who's thinking of buying because they're starting to show stability. So stability in rates will eventually mean they're going to start coming down, which is helpful for a home buyer. Anyone who's sitting on the fence, though, now is the time to buy. That window of affordable pricing is starting to close. When we see a move like this of staying the same, that indicates that buyers will probably start coming back out.
Okay, that is a warning to anyone that is sitting on the fence. That's good to hear, and it's good to know from, especially from a mortgage standpoint. I have a silly question, and I was going over it in my head. The Bank of Canada rate is different from the prime rate. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the Bank of Canada has different overnight rates that they use to set different pricing on things. The prime lending rate is what the mortgage equivalent is for the Bank of Canada and what they set. So our prime is currently sitting at 6.7.
But the Bank of Canada, it was 4.5, I believe.
It's 4.25.
Four and a quarter, so 4.25, which we're putting another what, 2.5% on there?
We are. So the mortgage rates are a lot higher than what the Bank of Canada overnight rates are.
Okay. Why do you keep saying overnight? Just out of
That's what
curiosity.
they call it. So if you,
Okay.
yeah. So if you're looking at a Bank of Canada announcement, it will say the overnight rate. So that's why I always say the overnight rate. So if someone's rating, I'm like, oh, that's what they're talking about.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So this is, I mean, it's good news for people who are looking to buy. What about people who are looking to renew, or should they still be going with the what is it called? Not the variable, but the fixed rate?
I definitely would. I think it's too soon to start going on the variable train. I would do a short-term fix, still would not do a 5 year, it's just way too long of period in these high rate environments. A variable still wouldn't do it. The rates are really high, though I do think this conversation in the next few months will potentially change as we start seeing everything come down.
Okay. And you're not 5 year, but are we still on the 1 or 2 year tip? And maybe if we can get a 3 year?
Yeah, I find most people are doing a 3 year. If you look at the 5 years right now, or sorry, not 5 years, my apologies, 2 years, we're looking around the 5.74 mark, whereas a 3 year, we're looking at 5.34. That's a pretty big difference in rate, let alone monthly payment qualifying. Most people need to have that lower 5.34 in order to qualify versus the higher interest rate. So that's why I still am seeing a lot of 3 years.
So a lot of 3 years then.
Mhm.
And you think it'll go back down to what I've heard, about 3%.
I
Um,
Yeah, I would say 3% is what is normal. I would say those pandemic rates were not normal. Those were
mhm.
uncharted territories. We never really had a pandemic in this lifetime. Whereas normally before the pandemic, we were in those high twos, low threes kind of error. I don't think we'll ever get that low. I think threes will be our new norm.
So that is 3% of the prime rate.
3% for the fixed rates is where I think we'll end up.
Fixed rate. Okay. All right. My other question is, when is the next expected rate announcement? Do we know?
It is April. April will be our next rate announcement.
Oh, that's like next month.
Yeah, there's 8 this year in total.
8 in total. And do we expect it to come down next month, maybe?
Very hard. I don't think down. No, I think it's too soon to go down. I think all the work Bank of Canada has done to bring inflation down, they're not going to risk it by dropping rates too soon. I really don't think we're going to see a drop until potentially the end of the year, if not beginning of 2024.
Okay. Well, that's not great news for me, but I'm sure it's great news for someone else out there. Okay. Credit unions and the stress test. Would you be able to explain that to me? Because I thought I heard something like they don't use the stress test at the credit unions.
Yeah, so credit unions are not federally regulated. They're actually done provincially. So when someone is putting 20% or more down payment, they actually don't need to be stress test. They are able to use contract rate. Keep in mind, sometimes contract rate can be a little bit higher, but if someone's able to qualify on a rate that's maybe 0.5% higher versus 2% higher, it really is helping push up affordability for a lot of home buyers.
Okay. So when they come to you, let's say, and you give them an option, I'm sure, because you've worked with a couple of my clients already, that you give them the best option possible. Does the best option possible also include trust company, like a
So
credit union?
every situation is unique. Some people don't really need to go that way because they don't have enough down payment that they can actually go higher up with that 20%. Some people are very risk averse and they know exactly where they want the payment. So that's what's important. But if I have a client who comes to me and they're buying a house with a basement apartment, they really just want to maximize that affordability. They have quite a large down payment, but their income is just not high enough to get them where they want to be. Yes, that is definitely a scenario we're going to review.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions that I have today. Thank you very much for explaining this Bank of Canada rate thing and and the prime thing. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that want to know what is going on, and having it written is one thing, but having it on a video and explained is a total another thing. So thank you.
And the wording Bank of Canada uses can be confusing, so video is always easier.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have any questions for me, Amanda?
Yeah, so you know what, Charlene? Like, I'm starting to see bidding wars like crazy, but then you hear the news and it's like everything's down. What is actually happening? Because I'm not seeing anything go down.
Well, sales are down and people confuse sales with sale price. So sales are down simply because there's not a lot of inventory on the market right now. So definitely it's correlation. Sales will be down.
Yeah.
What we do have it again in the areas that are like Leslieville, certain parts of East York, certain parts of Willowdale, there are bidding wars because there's just not enough inventory and everybody wants a 1-bedroom house and will pay $1 million for it. So that you gotta really, really want that house to pay $1 million for it. So
you could almost say that we're starting to see a lot of the pent-up demand for the last year, with people just saying, well, why am I still waiting? I spent another year paying rent when I could be in my own home.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the amount that rent is going up as well, it's going up and up and up. I have a client that came back to me from, I believe it was 3 years ago, got them a rental. They're supposed to be buying. One of the partners doesn't feel like it, doesn't want to buy necessarily. He wants to rent. So what I got for them for $2,000 3 years ago is now 2,300, 2,400.
Wow.
So, and that's a one-bedroom apartment. So that's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we're already starting to see this much pent up demand starting to purchase, imagine what it's like when rates start to go down. So, I mean, you
Yes.
did it. It was a warning, but it's a
Yeah.
warning with research to back it up because we're already starting to see pent up demand come back to the market, and that's only going to increase.
That's absolutely right. It's fact-based. It's fact-based warning. That's what we're doing here.
Absolutely.
But
Education.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Amanda, for everything. And we will chat soon, I guess.
Thank you very much, Charlene. And I look forward to chatting soon.